Snow fell in quiet spirals outside the small neighborhood grocery store, the kind of snow that softened sounds and made the world feel hushed, as if it were holding its breath. Christmas lights blinked above the entrance, cheerful and warm, but just a few steps away from that glow sat a woman the world had forgotten. She was heavy-set, her old brown coat stretched tight across her shoulders, buttons missing, sleeves frayed. The cold crept through the thin fabric, settling deep into her bones. Her hands shook as she cupped a paper cup of lukewarm tea, more for comfort than warmth. Her name was Clara, though no one had spoken it aloud in days. People passed her without looking. Some glanced briefly, then quickly looked away. Others pretended not to see her at all. Clara had learned not to expect kindness. Since her husband died the previous winter, the phone had stopped ringing. Invitations disappeared. Friends faded quietly, one by one, until silence became her closest companion. Across the parking lot, a little girl named Emma skipped beside her father, her red scarf bouncing against her coat. She hummed a Christmas song under her breath, clutching a small bag of candy canes she had begged her father to buy, for sharing. Suddenly, Emma stopped. "Daddy, wait." Her father took one more step before noticing the tug on his sleeve. "What is it, sweetheart?" Emma was staring at the bench. At Clara. The girl's eyes narrowed, not in judgment, but in confusion and concern. "Why is that lady sitting outside? It's really cold." Her father followed her gaze. He saw the woman, the way her shoulders curved inward as if she were trying to make herself smaller, the way she stared at the ground instead of the people walking past. He hesitated, searching for the right words. Before he could answer, Emma was already walking toward the bench. "Emma," he started, but stopped himself. Something in her posture told him this was important. Emma approached slowly, careful not to scare her. "Hi," she said softly. Clara looked up, startled. For a moment, she braced herself, expecting mockery, pity, or nothing at all. Instead, she saw a child's face filled with pure curiosity and warmth. "Merry Christmas," Emma said, holding out a candy cane with both hands. Clara's throat tightened. It had been so long since someone wished her anything good. "Merry Christmas," she replied, her voice trembling. "That's very kind of you." Emma smiled brightly. "What's your name?" "Clara." "I'm Emma," the girl said proudly. "Are you waiting for someone?" Clara hesitated, then shook her head. "No, dear, I'm just resting." Emma frowned, sensing the untruth but choosing kindness instead of questions. She turned and ran back to her father, who was watching from a distance. "Daddy," she whispered urgently, pulling him down to her level, "that lady is all alone." Her father nodded slowly. "Yes, it looks like she is." Emma glanced back at Clara, who had already lowered her eyes again, retreating into herself. "She looks really sad," Emma said. "And it's Christmas." The automatic doors slid open behind them, releasing a burst of warm air and laughter from inside the store. The contrast made Clara's isolation feel even sharper. Emma took her father's hand tightly. Her small fingers squeezed with surprising strength. "Daddy," she said, her voice gentle but certain, "can we bring her home for Christmas?" The question hung in the cold air, simple, innocent, and powerful enough to change lives. Her father looked from his daughter to the lonely woman on the bench. In that moment, he understood something profound. Sometimes compassion doesn't come with plans or logic. Sometimes, it arrives as a child's quiet request, and demands courage to say yes. Clara stood just inside the doorway, her boots leaving small, wet marks on the welcome mat. The warmth of the house wrapped around her like something almost unfamiliar, making her shoulders tense instead of relax. It had been so long since she had crossed the threshold of someone else's home that she wasn't sure where to put herself, or her hands. "Please, come in," Emma's father said gently, holding the door open wider. His voice was calm, steady, the kind that didn't rush or judge. "You're safe here." Clara nodded, though her heart pounded. Safe. The word felt fragile, like it might break if she believed in it too much. Emma skipped ahead, her excitement filling the hallway. "You can put your coat here," she chirped, pointing to a hook shaped like a snowman. Clara hesitated, fingers gripping the edges of her worn coat. Taking it off felt strangely vulnerable, as if shedding the last layer of protection she had from disappointment. Finally, she slipped it free. The air touched her sweater, thin and faded, but no one stared. No one commented. From the kitchen drifted the rich smell of roasted chicken, butter, and cinnamon. Clara's stomach tightened with a mix of hunger and emotion. She couldn't remember the last time a meal smelled like care instead of necessity. "Dinner's almost ready," Emma's father said. "I'm Daniel, by the way." "Clara," she replied softly, her voice barely above a whisper. They sat around the table, the overhead light glowing warm and yellow. Clara chose the chair closest to the edge, half expecting to be told she had stayed too long already. Emma climbed into her seat, swinging her legs, watching Clara with open curiosity. "You can have the big piece," Emma said, pushing the serving dish toward her. "Christmas food is for sharing." Clara blinked rapidly, fighting tears. "Thank you, sweetheart." As they ate, conversation came slowly at first, like ice cracking on a frozen lake. Daniel asked simple questions: where she lived, if she had family nearby. Clara answered carefully, leaving out the empty apartment, the unopened mail, the silence that followed her everywhere. Eventually, Emma asked the question no adult had dared. "Do you miss your husband?" The room went still. Clara's fork paused midair. Her chest tightened, but something about Emma's voice, so gentle, so unafraid, made honesty feel possible. "Every day," she said. "He used to make terrible jokes and burn the Christmas cookies." Emma giggled. "Daddy burns toast." Daniel smiled softly, and for a moment, laughter filled the space where sorrow had been sitting. After dinner, Emma dragged a box of ornaments from the closet. "We have to decorate the tree more," she announced. "It looks lonely." Clara flinched at the word lonely, then slowly nodded. She reached for an ornament shaped like a small wooden heart, its paint chipped with age. Her hands trembled as she lifted it. "My husband gave me one just like this," she said quietly. "Our first Christmas together." Emma listened intently as Clara told stories, how they danced in the kitchen, how they once spent Christmas with nothing but candles and soup and still laughed all night. With every memory spoken aloud, the weight in Clara's chest eased just a little. When the tree finally glowed with light and color, Clara stepped back. Tears slid down her cheeks, but this time she didn't wipe them away in shame. "I didn't mean to cry," she said. Emma wrapped her small arms around Clara's waist. "It's okay," she said simply. "Crying means your heart remembers." Later, as Clara sat on the couch with a blanket around her shoulders, she realized something extraordinary. For the first time since her husband died, the silence inside her had been replaced, not with noise, but with belonging. And somewhere deep within her, a fragile hope began to breathe again. Morning. Light crept softly through the curtains, pale and golden, touching the edges of the living room where the Christmas tree stood glowing quietly. Clara woke on the couch, unsure at first where she was. For a brief, familiar moment, panic fluttered in her chest, then warmth returned. Not just from the thick blanket draped over her, but from the memory of voices, laughter, and a kindness she still couldn't quite believe. She sat up slowly, listening. From the kitchen came the faint clatter of dishes and the gentle hum of a Christmas tune. The smell of coffee and fresh bread filled the air. Clara pressed a hand to her chest, steadying herself. She hadn't woken up to a home like this in over a year. Emma appeared in the doorway, her hair slightly messy, eyes shining. "You're awake," she whispered loudly, as if secrets didn't count on Christmas morning. "Don't move. It's almost time." Before Clara could ask what she meant, Emma darted away. A few minutes later, Daniel entered carrying 2 mugs. "Good morning," he said warmly. "I hope you slept okay." "I did," Clara replied, surprised by the truth of it. "Better than I have in a long time." They sat quietly, the tree lights reflecting in the window. Clara felt a strange mix of joy and fear, joy at being included, fear that this moment would disappear as quickly as it came. "Clara," Daniel said gently, "I want you to know something. Last night, it wasn't charity." She looked at him, confused. "It was family," he continued. "Even if just for a day." Her eyes filled again, but she smiled through the tears. "That means more than you know." Suddenly, Emma burst into the room dragging a small, slightly crooked box wrapped in red paper. "Okay, now," she announced. "This is for you." "For me?" Clara asked, startled. "Oh no, I didn't bring anything." "That's okay," Emma said firmly. Christmas isn't trading, it's giving. Clara carefully peeled back the paper. Inside lay a thick, handmade scarf. Soft, uneven, clearly knitted by small, determined hands. Tucked beside it was a folded note covered in shaky letters. She opened it slowly. "So you're never cold again. Love, Emma." Clara's breath broke. The room blurred as tears streamed down her face. She pressed the scarf to her cheek, then pulled Emma into a tight embrace. "No one has ever made me something before," Clara whispered. "This is the most beautiful gift I've ever received." Emma hugged back just as tightly. "You can keep it forever." After breakfast, they went for a walk together. Snow crunched beneath their feet as neighbors waved and wished them Merry Christmas. Clara walked between Daniel and Emma, their arms brushing hers, grounding her in the moment. At the park, Clara sat on a bench, not cold, not alone, watching Emma build a lopsided snowman. Daniel joined her. "You know," he said carefully, "you don't have to go back to an empty place today." Clara turned to him, her heart pounding. "What do you mean?" "We have a spare room," he said. "No pressure, no expectations, just time. Until you're ready." Clara closed her eyes, letting the offer sink in. All the walls she had built around her heart began to crack. When she opened them again, her voice was steady. "I'd like that," she said. That Christmas didn't erase Clara's loss. It didn't magically fix her pain. But it gave her something just as powerful: connection. And as Emma ran toward them, laughing, Clara understood the greatest truth of all. Sometimes, the miracle of Christmas isn't found under the tree. It's found in being chosen. And choosing to stay. Christmas Tree Red Heart.